No excuses and no blame. Stepping up my game. I'm a groove to, yes I am. With groove I know I can. Read my master plan. I'm grooving, yes I am. I'm grooving. Oh, I'm grooving. I'm grooving, yes I am. I'm grooving. Oh, I'm grooving. I'm moving, yes I am. I'm moving. I'm moving. I'm moving, yes I am. I'm moving. I'm moving. I'm moving, yes I am. Groove Nation inspires me. The bus loose and break free. I'm dancing to my dreams. Bursting at the seams. I'm feeling groove-alicious. Who knows who I am? 'Cause now is my time to have a groove state of mind. I'm grooving. Oh, I'm grooving. I'm grooving, yes I am. I'm grooving. Oh, I'm grooving. I'm grooving, yes I am. I'm grooving.
Hola, Donna Fox.
Hello, Julie. Great to see you today.
You know what I realized? That it's really easy to groove out if you're sitting on a ball.
Yes.
I sit on a ball, so it's like, I just sit like that. I just groove out like crazy. Better than a chair. I'm here with my groove drink, just saying. This
Wonderful.
is Synergy Kombucha, half and half seltzer.
I have my groove mug with Groovezilla on one side and Getting Groovy on the other.
And I think you're cooler than me.
Maybe. Well, so I'm drinking chocolate mint electrolytes, warm chocolate mint electrolytes.
Wow, that's cool. That feels very fallish.
Yeah, it tastes very fallish.
Nice. I love that. Well, I am super excited to talk about organization, delegation, and really teamwork. The teamwork. So I went hog wild doing research from the really well-knowns named like Dale Carnegie and Vern Harnish over to lesser known people that some of us know, like Tony Geary and Peter Thomas. I don't know if you ever know those guys, but these guys are great. And then one of my favorite people, Jeff Goins. You ever meet Jeff Goins?
I have never met him.
Cool. He's fantastic. He's really an awesome, very deep thinker. And then my buddy,
I haven't read that book either, The Art of Work.
It's really good. Not even a little bit good. It's really good. And then Shep Hyken, who is the guy for customer service. And he's got some really cool stuff. So I got all these things. I'm not even sure there's a possibility we can get through all of this, but I was very excited. So I kind of went wild finding new stuff. But let's start with Dale Carnegie, because I mean, he says the following. I love this. John Dewey. You ever study John Dewey?
No.
That dude's hard to read, okay? Just saying. He is the foremost American philosopher of all time and kind of tough to read, but sometimes he says stuff that makes sense to me. It says, John Dewey, one of America's most profound philosophers, phrased it a bit differently. Dr. Dewey said that the deepest urge in human nature is the desire to be important.
Yep.
So the way that Sigmund Freud said that, Sigmund Freud basically said that everything we do comes from either the sex urge or the desire to be great. And I thought that Charles Schwab had some very excellent advice. He says the following: I consider my ability to arouse enthusiasm among my people the greatest asset I possess. And the way to develop the best that is in a person is by appreciation and encouragement. There is nothing else that so kills the ambitions of a person as criticisms from superiors. I never criticize anyone. I believe in giving a person incentive to work, so I am anxious to praise, but loath to find fault. If I like anything, I am hearty in my approbation and lavish in my praise. I seem to remember being on a call with Donna Fox Monday morning who said pretty much the same thing. And we're like,
You're absolutely right. That is almost exactly what I said on Monday morning to my team.
and what's that mean to you? Because obviously it means a lot because you just I was on the call when you said that.
Yeah, I think that we all get so caught up in our own head all the time that we forget to give positive feedback, especially and the danger for me and working with my team when the positive content or performance is happening so often, so frequently, and at such a high level that you start to get used to the excellence.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a team that is just absolutely fantastic. But I think that it's pervasive all through everyone, not just the elite teams that don't get enough praise. I don't think anyone gets enough praise. I think we all need more praise for did you say recognition or significance?
It says,
Forget what word.
Charles Schwab, he said, I am hearty in my approbation and lavish in my praise.
Yeah. Interesting. Hearty in my approbation.
Right? I love that word, hearty. That's a good word for that.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Dale Carnegie says, in our interpersonal relationships, we should never forget that all our associates are human beings and hunger for appreciation. It is the legal tender that all souls enjoy. What do you think of that? The legal tender that all souls enjoy.
That appreciation is a currency.
I think so.
Yeah. Well, I think so. One of the most common forms of appreciation, the compliment, a very easy, quick verbal bit of praise about someone's style or look or appearance. It does create reciprocity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you look good. You look good too. Just like some other forms of appreciation, gifting and bigger, but even the smallest, it does trigger. So I agree that it is a legal currency because it triggers reciprocity, which is the desire to make things right or even or equal.
Mm-hmm.
So if a compliment, if praise creates that desire in someone that receives it to go out and pass it on to someone else, even if it's right back to the praiser, then yeah, I think I agree with that. Hadn't thought about it that way before, but
I love sometimes Dale Carnegie has great ways of expressing things.
yeah.
He says, try leaving a friendly trail of little sparks of gratitude on your daily trips. You will be surprised how they will set small flames of friendship that will be rose beacons on your next visit. It's so cool, right? I mean,
Yeah,
really
so
good.
beautiful.
He's really good. And he said that he has on his desk a saying, or on his wall, sorry, a saying that he sees every day. I shall pass this way but once. Any good, therefore, that I can do, or any kindness that I can show to any human being, let me do it now. Let me not defer nor neglect it, for I shall not pass this way again. Cool.
I like it. Yeah, it's
So
great
good.
quote.
So good. So I got to switch gears with you for a second.
Okay.
So I'm hanging out with our buddy and tremendous online marketer, Brad Hart. one of the smartest guys out there, super smart guy. And he and his now fiance, in case you didn't know, Jasmine, have a dog
Congratulations.
named Juniper. Juniper is a pit bull that is the most well-behaved dog I have ever known in my life. You can put food on the ground. Juniper will not touch the food until she's told she can touch the food. She sits quietly. She doesn't beg. She doesn't do anything. So I asked Brad, I said, what's the deal with Juniper? I mean, how'd this dog get to be so well behaved? And he said to me something interesting. He said, we've never criticized her ever. All we do is praise her all day long. You're the most well-behaved dog. You're the greatest dog. You're the thing, whatever. And it worked. So I was like, that's interesting. So, of course, I went to find something about this. And Dale Carnegie says the following. Why, I wonder, don't we use the same common sense when trying to change people that we use when trying to change dogs? Why don't we use meat instead of a whip? Why don't we use the praise instead of condemnation? Let us praise even the slightest improvement that inspires the other person to keep on improving.
Women have known this for years. We all train our husbands.
Say more about that.
I think that this using something as soft and generous as praise, as currency, legal tender, to get what you want is very, very common. I mean, how many times has, a waitress flirted with you in a restaurant? It's not because they want to flirt with you. It's because they want to increase their tips. That is just something that becomes, I think that's kind of a uniquely feminine thing that we learn early on to counterbalance some of the more masculine signs of power that men tend to use to get what they want. You didn't know we were going to go into gender here, did you?
Hey, well, that's okay, because I got more on that topic right here. To that point, to your point here, to the point about the sincerity piece, check this out. Everybody likes to be praised, but when praise is specific, it comes across as sincere, not something the other person may be saying just to make one feel good. Remember, we all crave appreciation and recognition, and we'll do almost anything to get it, but nobody wants insincerity.
It's true.
Let me repeat. The principles only work when they come from the heart. I'm not advocating a bag of tricks. I'm talking about a new way of life. The way of praise. Talk about changing people. If you and I will inspire the people with whom we come in contact to a realization of the hidden treasures they possess, we can do far more than change people. We can literally transform them. That's pretty profound.
That is.
I think it's true. I think it works. I just had an experience with my son who finally, yes, did sell his first house. Yes, did get paid. Woohoo! But I had in the coaching of that process, which is largely his first adult professional behavior, if you will. He's had the jobs of working, parking cars and being a ski instructor and working in restaurants and all that. But his first adult professional behavior, I found that the best thing I could do through what was a lengthy and painful process was constantly encourage him. Just constantly say, you've got this. You're doing all the right things. You're smart. You have this. Just keep working. Remember, extraordinary is just extra on top of ordinary. All you have to do is a little bit more. There's not a lot of traffic on the extra mile. Just do it, etc. And interestingly, he's now calling me for what's next. Hey, Dad, I want to talk to you about this, and I want to have a conversation with my broker to see what we can do to the next thing. I'd really like to get your input on this. Where did that come from? Nothing but praise. It It was praise, 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 praise. No condemnation. No, I'm just here to serve you. What else can I do to encourage you to keep going?
That's wonderful.
Yeah, right. And I hear you do it with our team all the time.
They deserve it. I should do it more, frankly. Yeah. I think, they deserve it. And when I can reach out to something specific, I try to remember to do that. I just recently read, and I am not nearly the researcher that Ridgely is, who comes prepared with references. So I don't know where I read it, and I'll probably butcher the specifics, but here's the spirit of what I had read. Not only this had to do with children. When you praise children not on their intelligence, but on their efforts, they wind up being more successful. So it's not you're so smart, because that's not something you can change. When you praise someone on a state of being, you are smart. That's kind of a switch. You are or you aren't. But when you praise them on their effort, they get rewarded for the actions and the behavior that leads to a smart decision or performing well.
Don't you think it's also because it's hard to understand what you're so smart means versus I love the way you made that cupcake?
Yes, absolutely. I do. I think hearing, I'm smart. I've been told I've been smart my whole life, and it means nothing to me. It is really meaningless. I would much rather be praised on a specific performance or task that I've done and not on my intelligence or any other trait that is me. I would much rather be praised on performance. Yeah.
Well, it's much more specific. You can relate to it. You can almost, when you do something well and someone notices that and says something about it, in your brain, it's almost a programming of, oh, I should be doing that again. Oh, I can do that another time. Oh, that's a rewarding thing to do. Why don't I kind of keep going? Right? I get it. It just seems so logical to me.
And I don't think people that praise non-specifically are necessarily insincere. I just think they're not practiced praisers.
I think that's a really key point because offering praise, giving praise is something that can be learned behavior. If you're not particularly good at it and you start, you're going to say, oh, wow, Donna, you look great one way, or Donna, I love the way you combed your hair today. It really flatters you. Totally different. You look great with I love the way you combed your hair. Oh, maybe I'll pay attention. Just do it again, right?
That's exactly it. That creates a repeatable result or moment. You've told me why I look great, so now I can go do that again. Just a generic "you look great" doesn't give me any information. So you actually benefit the receiver with your specificity.
Which in business is super important, because if you're praising someone for specific actions that they have taken that yielded a positive result, then they can repeat those actions, thereby yielding more positive results, driving everybody forward, feels better to the recipient of the praise, and it's also good for business. Love that.
Yeah, me too.
That specificity is cool. So Peter Thomas, Peter Thomas built Century 21 Canada. And he was chairman emeritus of the Entrepreneurs Organization of all of EO. Had a chance to spend some time with him on his yacht, where he spends half of the year traveling around doing meetings and helping people. And he and Tony Geary, who is a great speaker, wrote this book together. And one of the chapter 71 is Create and Nourish a Life Team. And I dug into that and said, okay, what are they talking about? He says, I leverage an entire team that helps me achieve far better results by complementing my strengths with their expertise. My team is made up of several groups of people and includes home, life teamers like electrician, roofer, landscaper, painter, plumber, builder. It has professional hand-picked office staff, writers, videographers, graphic artists, drivers, pilot, etc. Additionally, who support my family with their friendship and expert counsel and advice. lawyers, bankers, CPAs, pastors, financial aides, insurance, blah, 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 blah. I love this. This is what he says. Having a powerful team requires an intentional decision to put together a team of people you can go to when you want to grow, think, and get stuff done.
I love that. I love the expansion of team to basically include, what did he call it? Did you say it was a life team?
That's what he calls it. Yes, the life team.
Yeah. Everyone in your life that's working to help you achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve. That's everyone that's on your side.
Yeah.
Which can extend to authors of books.
For sure. In fact, what he goes on to say is pretty much that. He says, in order to understand who the players on your team should be, you really have to have a clear-cut vision of your goals in every category. Some people on your team will be mentors, to your point. Others will be simply professional colleagues, and some will be executors. Be a person who can move mountains because you have built, assembled, appreciated, and nourished a power team of people around you. I love that.
Me too.
How can you find those power team members in all aspects of life? So yes, of course, it's at the office. Of course, it's in your business, etc. I was asked yesterday about somebody doing limbic messaging, which is my specialty. And they were asking, well, should I say, I believe, because I'm really a solopreneur? And I looked at the person, I said, everybody has a team.
Mm-hmm.
You have a team because you're in my mastermind. I'm on your team. You have a team because you're part of Groove. You have a Groove team. You have a team because you have a VA, a lawyer, an accountant, a somebody. And it's just everybody has a team. So think we instead of I, so much more embracing and inviting than. How can we help people do that more? Think more we instead of I.
So there is pride in the I, and that gets in the way. So I'm thinking specifically about, as you know, I'm learning to be an artist, and there's an expression in not only the art community but everywhere. I am self-taught. I am self-taught. No one is self-taught. And there's a sense of pride. I am self-taught, but that it's kind of like I'm proud I was able to do this but myself, but you didn't invent it yourself. You read books, you watched videos, you took you didn't take classes, because people are saying self-taught haven't taken formal education classes. But none of us are self-taught. We didn't even learn to walk and talk by ourselves. We've learned everything other than how to cry. We even have to learn how to eat when we're infants. We have to be taught how to nurse. The only thing we know is how to breathe and cry and keep our bodies alive. So all of us are taught by so many people. So
it's so interesting. I didn't focus on that particular piece in How to Win Friends and Influence People with Dale Carnegie, but that's exactly what he says in there. Nobody is self-taught. Don't be so arrogant.
Right? Exactly. I have never gone to school for marketing. I didn't ever take a marketing class in school. I am now the chief marketing officer of a multi-million-dollar software company, and I have never once said that I am a self-taught marketer.
Yeah. Not
once. Because there are so many brilliant marketers that I have learned or stolen from over the years.
Well put. Learned and absorbed
their
knowledge. That's what
Of course, when I say stole, I mean in the best sense of the word. Emulate, swipe, or in the case of my very first website, I did flat out steal the code and changed the all the words. Alex Mendosian, I told him later, our very good friend Alex Mendosian, I was so inspired by one of his sites. I was learning how to build websites the hard way by looking at the HTML and making a change and seeing what happened. So yeah, and I copied one of his sites, and I changed all the copy on it, but I couldn't have created copy that wasn't influenced by his copywriting as well. So I consider that my early stealing in the world, and I did confess it years later.
I'm sure he probably laughed.
He did.
Yeah,
He did.
knowing Alex.
Yes, because we all expect and want the people who are learning from us to model us. That's why maybe it's not why. Might be one of the reasons why we train, is because we've found a path that worked for us, and we want to show it and have it be available for people who can also find it, and maybe it will work for them.
Yeah, it feels good to do that. It feels good to have that share, if you will. And it's also validating, right? You share something and it works for someone else. It validates you in that process.
Yes.
Huge.
Yep.
So in chapter 74, Tony and Peter write, build relationships and help others win. And the salient point on it was, build relationships by having a genuine approach and by appreciating others. Treat strangers, business associates, and others with care. Talk, listen, and nurture your relationships because they are equity. People will help make deals happen and endorse you and your business. Each time you make a new contact, ask yourself, how can I nourish this relationship? How can I give this person something of value? How can I do more than is expected to help him or her win?
We just crossed some sort of threshold where the introvert in me just went, oh my gosh, that sounds hard.
You know what? Well, where it doesn't sound where for me it's easy is whenever I'm doing a sales call, I absolutely have the intention, how can I help this person? And if it turns into a sale, great. If it doesn't, great. And it has made my life in doing sales calls so much easier because I don't even think of them as sales calls. I'm just offering whatever I know to help, and we'll see where it goes. Do I use the right language? Do I do all those things along with all of that from training?
Of course.
Yes, but my intention's very pure. I'm like, hey, I'm here to help you. If it's a fit, if we're a fit that I can take it to the next level with you, great. And if not, no worries. Let me do whatever I can in the 45 minutes that we have on this call. I booked 4 sales calls yesterday for next week, high ticket. And I'm walking into every one of those with, hey, what can I do to help you? How can I help? What's that look like? And I really think it works. I never have a bad call. Never. I don't have the expectation that if I don't close the deal, I'm going to fail. It just doesn't work like that for me. How can I help? He says, Tony and those guys go on to say, when you help those around you win, they will in turn want to help you win. It's fairly simple to do and reaps huge benefits for all stakeholders. That win-win thing is real.
I completely agree with that. I think the best thing that I can do for my team is to help them perform their jobs better. Talking about teamwork and delegation, my job as a manager is to delegate, period. And my value as a manager is based on how well I delegate. Delegation without training is a waste of time. Delegation without communication will often get you the opposite of what you're looking for. So yeah, I think that nothing would please me more than for everyone on my team to exceed my mental capacity and my abilities to become a star. Nothing would please me more than that. And that's what I think my role is as a leader within the company. And maybe even broader than that, but I haven't thought about it. So it's to help people improve themselves.
Yeah, for sure.
And not only just in the role that they're in within work, but in their lives, if I can, because they're in my life. So why wouldn't I help them in every way that I could? No.
And it's contagious. It spreads. People develop that as part of a culture thing that goes on. Is there a culture of people supporting each other as opposed to trying to climb the ladder or doing some other craziness that happens often in the corporate world? We see it a lot. Win-lose versus win-win. And is the win-win pervasive in your organization? You know, it's interesting because Vern Harnish, who wrote Scaling Up, Rockefeller Habits, in here, there was a little thing that was all about culture, checking for culture fit. And there was one paragraph that I thought was very interesting that I thought to myself, oh, I'm going to throw this at Donna and see what she thinks about this one. Check this out. Checking for culture fit in the interview process can be handled in a variety of ways. At Southwest Airlines, for example, if people don't get the team's omnipresent jokes, it's clear that the airline is not the right place for them. Commerce Bank first screens for people smiling while waiting to be interviewed. At online apparel retailer Zappos, administrative assistants always handle part of the interviewing and testing, even for C-suite candidates. If a candidate seems irritated at being interviewed by lower-level employees, he probably lacks one of Zappos' core values, which is being humble.
I like it.
Pretty interesting, right? I love that. Southwest says, you don't get our jokes, you're not part of our team.
I love it.
Right? Commerce Bank says, you're not smiling, you're not part of our team. Zappos says, you're not humble, you're not part of our team. That's pretty bold.
Yeah.
But I love that. That one paragraph, I was like, oh man, I'm definitely sharing that on our call today. Set to like, you're either our people or you're not our people. And if you're not our people, let me help you find somewhere that is a better fit for you because it ain't here.
Want to know what my test is?
I do.
For me, it's if you don't have attention to detail, you're not my people. Because I really, really hate saying something twice. So in all of our help wanted ads, we put a line in there that says, in the subject line, please tell us something. Your favorite color, your favorite fruit, we vary it, whatever it is, but something very simple that just shows if they're reading and can follow instructions. And that's my very first cut is if we get our response back and it doesn't include something like that in the subject line, I don't even open the email. Now you might say, I'm letting go of a really good candidate. Maybe, but I've decided that a test that is really important to me is the ability to read and follow instructions. And that's the one that I use. So
I think that's super cool because you know what you're looking for and you're building a team in your own vision. And if they can't fit in the vision, they shouldn't be on the team.
That's right. And I know what will irritate me and create friction with working with me. So one of the things that creates a lot of friction is if I ask a 3-part question and get a 1-part answer. That's a lack of attention to detail. So that's one of the things that I do to cut that out of my life and on my team. There are plenty of qualified candidates. I'm not worried about cutting out one that might be otherwise qualified that just didn't happen to follow that instruction at that time. And I think that's probably the same for Zappos, finding someone that might just be frustrated that day. Maybe they could have let someone go that would be otherwise great. But if they couldn't handle that particular situation that represented their values, then I think that's a great test.
Well, I mean, there's a lot here. Let's dwell on this for a second, because there really is a lot here. If someone is on Donna Fox's team and they don't pay attention to the details,
Mhm.
the opposite of paying attention to the details, that infects everybody on the team. It either infects or affects everybody else on the team. And so that becomes the weak link, if you will. And we all know that when you have a weak link, the chain is going to break and things are going to fall apart. So when you look at the opposite side of what happens if you do have a weak link, then it becomes even more important to say, hey, I don't care if somebody doesn't like this test. I don't really care if I miss out on a really talented person, because that talent in this situation is not going to be as effective as where they would be where that's not as significant.
That's right. I don't, the most highly skilled person could walk in here, and if they were a jerk, they're not getting hired, you know? So it's, I think culture and a right fit is of key importance, actually, when you're building your team.
Yeah, for sure.
And
So,
understanding yourself. That's the biggest part of culture, though, is creating the culture that you can create, or that you strive to create, even if it's not your natural desire. It's important to know what that is when you start looking to find people that fit into it.
yeah, for me, because it's it's interesting. Didn't think of it this way until now. I was at a mastermind this past weekend and was having some conversations with some very smart people and talking about why I have challenges with certain employees. And it made me realize that the value, like your value, to pay attention to detail. One of mine is being self-motivated. I will praise someone all day long for their accomplishments and love praising them for their accomplishments, but I don't want to be badgering somebody to get stuff done or to do what they signed up to do in the first place. Self-motivation is super important to me. I can't work with people on my team if they don't do what they're supposed to do. Drives me up the tree. And I don't want to be the guy who's chasing around trying to find, why did this not get done? Da 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 da. If there's a problem, tell me what the problem is. But otherwise, I expect it's going to get done. And otherwise, this is not the right team for you. Which comes back to this whole praise thing. Shep says, he's quoting Dale Carnegie. Go figure. That's interesting. Is that spelled that way? It's not spelled that way. No, it's misspelled. Carnegie without an I-E at the end. Dale Carnegie once said, remember that a man's name is to him the sweetest and most important sound in any language. I think most of us know that, or we've heard that. And Shep says, what Carnegie is trying to say is that acknowledgement and recognition are very special to that person. They are a very important key to the success of building a relationship with someone. It can be as simple as using a person's name, but you can go much further. Acknowledge people by sending a note or making a phone call. This is very simple, but an incredibly powerful tool if used correctly. Use it with your customers, the people you work with, friends, family, and loved ones. So I am not a particularly good note sender, but I'm married to one. She's great at it. She sends notes all the time. In fact, when she thinks that I'm supposed to send a note, she'll address the envelope, bring me the note, tell me who it's for on a sticky, and tell me to write the note. Okay.
I need that delegation in my life.
Right? But it's like really cool to get a personal note. Doesn't it feel different when you get a personal, especially today in the world of texts and emails?
I've always thought that I would like to be the kind of person that remembers birthday cards and sends physical notes. And it's not quite ever gotten to the point where I've made that a goal to become that kind of person. It's more of a nice to have. It would be nice to be that thoughtful. And I'm just not. Frankly, I'm just not.
well, and we're all busy and we're all
Yeah.
this and we're all that. It's interesting because our daughters, trained by their mom, are unbelievably good about thank you notes. Like we take care of the kids, we get a thank you note. We do something, whatever, that thank you note. It's coming over here. Said gift, there's a thank you note. They're
love
great
that.
at it. They're great at it. I'm like, okay, got that from mom. Cool. All right. So I want to a tiny bit on the topic of charisma, because I think this is interesting. People like to be around charismatic people. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to jump up and down and always be in a great mood. But you need to have an inner enthusiasm. I've seen many corporate executives and politicians make speeches. Some of them are terrible speakers, but they have charisma. They speak in a dull, almost monotone voice, yet somehow they motivate the audience. The enthusiasm is coming from their hearts. You may not see it in their physical gestures and movement, but you can see it in their eyes. So what do you think about that heart to charisma connection?
I think that that's probably true, although I can't think of an example of it. I would like to be able to whip out one, but I'm not coming up with a good example that everyone would know of someone with quiet charisma. But I do think that what makes someone, well, there are many things that make someone attractive, but a sense of purpose is a very attractive thing on a person. And I think that charisma comes from that.
I agree with that totally. Absolutely. It's that sense of purpose is very attractive. It's one of those differentiators. You can tell this person is going somewhere or attempting something or in the process of something bigger than themselves. Mike Filsaime is like that. Mike has a strong sense of purpose.
He does. I agree.
I love that about him. So guess what? I was wrong. I love being wrong in this situation. I thought I'd discovered the part about not being self-taught in Dale Carnegie. It was here in this book.
The Art of Work.
And I did flag it. So we can talk about it, to your point.
Wonderful.
More often than not, in the life of an extraordinary person, at a certain point, they encountered a guide, some coach or mentor who helped them along, investing in their abilities to help them grow into who they were born to be. Sometimes it's a single person. Sometimes it's a group of people. Regardless, the result is an often informal process of apprenticeship full of failure and self-doubt, but ultimately instructive. And this is in a chapter called Accidental Apprenticeships, where Jeff is speaking largely about the fact that in the past, apprenticeship was normal, and that we are doing ourselves and our kids and everyone else a disservice. So, says here, finding your calling takes time. Practice is essential not only to achieve excellence, but to clarify the call itself. I love that. Let me repeat that. Practice is essential not only to achieve excellence, but to clarify the call itself. An apprenticeship was an excellent way of learning a skill under the guidance of someone wiser and more experienced. But these days, there's little left of the apprenticeship system, which has left an unfortunate gap in our education. In modern times, the responsibility for teaching your potential is often left up to the individual. Listen to this. This is more than a challenge. It's a cruel taunt. How can a person be all she's supposed to be if she doesn't know who she is, if she doesn't have some example to aspire to? Pulling ourselves up by our bootstraps can only take us so far. And despite what we've heard, there is no such thing as a self-made man.
Amen.
We are all products of our environment, influenced by the people we encounter and the places we live. Born into this world with zero ability, we cannot talk, much less feed or clean ourselves on our own.
I should write a book or something.
Just saying. I learned that a little while ago. from my very wise friend. Right? Isn't that cool?
That is cool.
Love
Talk
that.
about validation. There's a compliment right there. I was just complimented on my insight or breadth of knowledge or whatever you want to call it by the fact that a point that I made is something that you also wanted to share completely separately and independently of me.
Yeah.
Like, that's a compliment to me. Thank you.
You're most welcome.
Mhm.
And I definitely agree 1000% with you. And here's the thing that I thought was really cool that Jeff brings up. He says, chances are your apprenticeship will not look like you imagined.
Yeah.
Your mentor may not be the teacher you dreamed of. And that's the point. This is your education of what is, not what you think should be. A teacher who challenges you, who doesn't meet your expectations, who forces you to think and act differently is exactly what you need. That is, after all, the job of an educator. The teacher appears when the student is ready is a nice sounding cliche, but the truth is the student is never ready. Throughout our lives, we will encounter a number of people who will appear at times ready to instruct, and it will be our job to recognize them. Super cool.
Very
Tell
cool.
you, this guy's deep. This Jeff Goins dude, he's deep.
Yeah.
And I haven't spoken to him like 6-7 years. I got to bring him up. I just do that sometimes. I'll find somebody I haven't connected with for a while and say, oh, let me just call him up. I love what he's really deep, what he says. I want to finish with this one on Jeff.
Uh-huh.
I often hear people who need guidance in their lives asking for advice on how to find a mentor, but that's the wrong question to ask.
Mm-hmm.
When you pursue a calling, you will find a community of supporters to champion you along the way. It's not up to you where these people come from or even how to locate them. You just need to keep your eyes open. Accidental apprenticeships are all around you, and if you listen to your life, you'll be able to recognize them.
Ooh, accidental apprenticeships are all around you. I love that.
Right?
Love that.
Yeah, man. My brother Jeff, I gotta call him up. I haven't talked to him. It's been too long. I love that too, right? So how great. So we've talked about mentors. We've talked about delegation, the importance of it. We've talked about how to find those mentors. We've talked about teamwork. And most of all, we've talked about praise and encouragement and kind words. So any final thoughts as we wrap up this amazing dialogue, my favorite hour of the month?
Oh gosh, I feel like I need to pull something brilliant out. No, I don't think I have any other thoughts. I think that when it comes to team building, so I'm going to bring it back into out of the abstract and into the constructive. For those of you listening today, I try to give you something that you can take away and have as a practice. And I think that we've heard about a gratitude practice, but what about a praise practice? What if instead of every day you got up and wrote 3 things that you were grateful for? Maybe you got up and told 3 people why you were grateful for them.
Mm-hmm.
So consider that.
I think that's a great one. And I often love to say kindness is such a great thing. And a smile is a little curve that sets a lot of things straight. So if someone needs a smile, give them yours. Donna, thank you so much, as always. Can't
Thank you,
wait.
Ridley. And with that, we will see you guys again next month. And we're out of here with little Groovezilla to dance us out.